sync call January 19th. Two things I wanted to put out there. One is options around setting up a Gnosis safe, and then the second is setting up conviction voting parameters using the Token Engineering Commons configuration tool. But I'm sure we can add more to the list of things to discuss. Do we just want to go around and maybe do a check-in if anybody had anything off the top of their mind they wanted to put out there?
I created a new proposal to create digital artwork for the RICO token, so we can discuss that at some point. Definitely.
Did we ever, Paul, or well, I know that they mentioned in the OneHive Discord that some of the media file assets weren't loading, so maybe we can double check on that.
Yeah, they suggested to make an issue in the GitHub and just put the you mean for like the icon and the token symbol,
exactly,
right? Yeah. If you make a GitHub issue and put the collateral in there, then they'll just do it.
The honey, like collateral honey?
No, just like the artwork.
Oh, I see. Okay. You can tell I'm a finance guy, not a designer guy.
Yeah, they should be able to get to it pretty quickly.
That's good. We don't have the image currently, so no hurry on that. But yeah, when we do, we'll go through that process.
Do you guys know where the GitHub is? You've been in there yet?
I think I've visited it once.
Okay.
It's like OneHive.
I'll put a link in the WhatsApp anyways.
So yeah, Alex, Paul, and myself had a call on Monday to go over kind of some of the tokenomics and just some of the finer points of running a garden. Alex or Paul, did you want to just briefly sum up what we talked about?
Yeah, so we were going over kind of the basic function of the conviction voting parameters. And so, yeah, we're focusing on these conviction voting ones first, which are conviction growth, minimum conviction, and spending limit. And between these three parameters, you can kind of fine tune how your DAO works. So yeah, at a high level, that's the things that I was trying to convey, how changing those would affect whether proposals pass easier or more difficult. I think that's most of it. We didn't get into dynamic issuance. I think we got to kind of take it one at a time. But I'm glad you made it to the parameters party, because that's the best. That's the best tool for kind of playing around with this and making some decisions on how it should work for ETH PR. Yep,
definitely. So from our end, I think this type of concept is probably going to be really new to everybody. And I guess, how do we learn about the process? Like maybe individually do research on it, but also collectively we can kind of go through and start making funding proposals and then seeing, okay, how easy was it to pass this one? How difficult was it, depending on the amount requested, and et cetera. Like there's a lot of different dynamics at play. So perhaps one way we can really get a good feel of it is just by, submitting proposals, funding proposals, and then, seeing what that experience is like, and then we can go and fine tune it.
Yeah, the other thing we discussed was, right now we don't have any liquidity. I mean, we have like the most minimum amount of liquidity in the Honey RICO pool. So if anybody wanted to buy RICO token, there would be maximum amount of slippage. So for any like purchase, so we want to like deepen that pool. Now, my question is, if we deepen the liquidity pool between Honey and in Rico or XDAI in Rico, is that something that we want to do individually, or would we want to do that through the Gnosis safe?
It depends on if you want to have that liquidity be individually owned or DAO owned.
I see.
So yeah, I think the advantage of if it's individually owned is that it's kind of, I guess, more decentralized that way. Usually, I think usually when there is individually owned liquidity, it's because it's incentivized in some way, because you won't get much ROI if just on swap fees for adding liquidity. So it's kind of like doing a service to your DAO to provide liquidity.
Is there a way to add incentives to the pool?
Giveth is working on a tool called Give Friends, which is basically their incentivization tool that anyone will be able to add tokens to and incentivize a pair with. Right now on HoneySwap, there's also XComb, but that was a product of the Tulip Swarm, and they're not very active on updating those rewards pairs. So those are the tools I know of with HoneySwap. But yeah, I think Give Friends would be the best way to do that when that's ready.
Okay. So I think maybe our initial step is going to be airdropping some of the tokens. I mean, we don't have much in the common pool. That's the challenge. And we do have a little bit in the swap, in the liquidity pool. The other challenge being that right now our voting, like the amount of Rico you need to submit a proposal is relatively high. So Jose, I know you mentioned like having 1 Rico, which may have been a little bit more accurate than 50. So we have to go through a process of updating the parameters, which is going to be a software update, I believe, or like we have to update the smart contract parameters.
Right. Yeah. I saw one of you guys asked in the chat, and someone answered that you go to settings, and from settings you can go to EVM executor, and then that's where you set up a decision vote.
Okay. Alex, do you have access to that, or is this something that? Oh, okay, I see. Internal, external, terminal.
Yeah. I can't help you on that.
Okay. Okay.
Let's mess around and try to break it, I guess. But yeah, I guess some of the we definitely need to make a decision as a group as far as like how to set the parameters. So one thing maybe like we should talk about really quickly is onboarding, because right now we have 9 people on the call, but officially we only have 4 people that are like signed up and with the proposal and the DAO. So whoever is not in the DAO officially, like go in and sign the covenant. What can we do to help? Is there any blockers? Like, do you need XDAI or do you need Rico tokens? How can we get more people onboarded?
So is this just onboarding people on this call, or are we talking about others? Because there have been people that have approached me about either buying the token or asking me how to join. And, I've just kind of been reluctant because I know this is highly experimental and we're still changing the parameters, right?
Yeah, I think we're still a little reluctant to mass onboard, but until we get at least everyone in this call, everyone, who's been discussing, at least let's get everyone on first, and then we can talk about, okay, where do we go from there, onboarding more people? Because I'm sure there's a lot of interest in that. So let's kind of make sure that we feel comfortable internally with what we have. Does that sound like a good approach?
Is there a way where we can see who has signed the covenant?
Yeah, I believe I signed it, by the way. I'd like to confirm if that's possible.
I don't know if there is a way in the interface of seeing that, but the team could pull that from the back end easily. I don't, would that help just to see wallet addresses from?
Yeah, I mean, I can identify my wallet like by looking at the last 3 characters.
Also, try to create a proposal. It won't allow you to create a proposal, I believe, unless you have the covenant signed. Or I also think you won't be able to vote or support a proposal. So see if you can do that. If so, then I believe you should be good.
I think Bali had his hand up.
Yeah, hi, hello everybody. I tried to enable my account, but something with my MetaMask, it was giving me trouble. Maybe I'm just not used to the platform Honey. But I tried to sign the covenant, and it was like telling me something about my network. Maybe my internet's just crappy where I'm at.
No.
You gotta make sure you're on the Gnosis network, otherwise you wouldn't be able to sign it.
Okay.
That could be it.
So I have to. What do I have to do with Gnosis?
You gotta add the network to your MetaMask. I can send
I
you.
can get you.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's why I thought I was missing something, because it was telling me like add this network, this network, this network, or this other network. So all I gotta do is add Gnosis network. Sorry?
Okay. Yeah, we'll get you onboarded to the correct network, and you need XDAI in order to make transactions.
I should have sent you at least one XDAI, Bali. I just listed the link in the WhatsApp group to how to set up the XDAI Gnosis chain on MetaMask. So once you set that up, you should be able to see your balance. There should be, I think, like 50 or 100 Rico, and then at least one XDAI.
Okay. Perfect. So the link is in the WhatsApp chat, right?
Yeah. It'll show you. It'll show you how to add the custom RPC.
Perfect.
And then you just have to put in the details. Just fill in it'll give you like a little form with like 5 different things to fill out, and the link will have all that specific information, and you'll be able to kind of jump between. Same thing with Polygon or like some of the layer 2. It's MetaMask is not the easiest, unfortunately. They make you do it manually.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, we definitely. I mean, if everybody's going to have the same question, if we're trying to onboard, people into XDAI Gnosis chain, everybody's gonna have the same question. So I'm sure we're gonna need some type of onboarding document. I've put. Go ahead, Ruben.
Sorry, there are websites where you can just click a button and it will ask you whether you want to add the chain. So nobody needs to fill out any forms. It will be just like pre-configured a link, and then you do that. That's one thing. But we should explore which of the mobile wallets natively have XDAI already pre-configured, and whether we could use them, and the Garden, let's say, UI is capable to handle this wallet, or other way around. I think that's a significantly, like in particular if we want to go broader, I think that makes our lives and the lives for the community much better.
Yeah.
So really 2 options. One is there's already a website where you can go to that'll automatically configure. And then 2 is find a wallet that already has XDAI Gnosis chain natively installed. Okay.
So the website is something like chainnetwork.info or something else. There are a bunch of them where you could just in an onboarding document point people to click, and then it's basically pretty much, you need to trust that website that it configures the right one. So there's a little bit of risk, but let's say for the things we're planning to do here, that's a reasonable, I think, step to suggest to members. And the wallet, I know there are some mobile wallets which support this, and I think with the merge with Gnosis, it will just increase the popularity for the chain. So I expect more wallets will integrate it.
Yeah, I think we should create an onboarding document before we start mass onboarding. So does someone want to create a proposal perhaps just to go through the process to create that
I
doc.
already have the I have the start of that. I could finish it. I mean, it's not too long. It's like 10 steps only. But yeah, we'll have to, like, once people are in the DAO, it'll have to give them. Let me try and find that. But I've already started that, and definitely want to have that handy. But I mean, do you think I should put together a proposal or a funding proposal? I guess my only concern is I'm more concerned about the tokenomics, because I don't think we have enough circulating supply right now. But then again, we could be creative if we want to keep it that way for now.
I wouldn't worry about that too much. I mean, we can always buy tokens on the market. I think there's things we can do. I wouldn't worry about the supply.
I think we would be a nice group to test the onboarding. So whatever you wrote already, even if it's super drafty, if whoever just spoke up and said, like, he had some trouble trying to go through this and see how far the next person comes. If we through the chat help someone, maybe that person can just clarify the language or add a point in the onboarding document, so it kind of grows with every person we onboard until it's good enough that no questions come back. That's maybe the most natural way to let this evolve.
I think that's a good idea.
You know, I think we touched on two subjects that sound like two different proposals. Tokenomics is definitely important, onboarding as well. So maybe, you know, we can submit respective proposals. I know I had committed to submitting a proposal regarding the event airdrop that I have not yet uploaded, but I am working on that.
Bali, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just really fast. I know that they touched upon the subject of individually owned liquidity versus DAO owned, but I guess they didn't go over DAO owned, the benefits and the pros and cons of it. Just wanted to, like, hear out folks about DAO owned, pros and cons about it.
Yeah, DAO-owned liquidity is more reliable because you have a multi-signature usually that's controlling those funds, and so there's, I guess, no risk that people are going to just take out their liquidity and make the token illiquid. Probably the best is a healthy mix of both DAO-owned liquidity and individual liquidity. Yeah, after we talked about that, I thought if you are trying to incentivize individual owned liquidity, one way to do that, and I think we talked about this quickly last call, using Giveth. So Giveth is a tool for public good projects to raise money, and you can create a listing there and verify your project. Basically, just put a link on a social media account that say that you guys are related to this project, and then anyone that donates to that project can earn givebacks, which is Giveth's governance token, and they have staking systems and reward incentives for growing your Giveth value. So that would wind up being DAO-owned liquidity, because you guys would get XDAI or Honey or whatever you're providing liquidity with to your Gnosis safe, and then you can use that to add liquidity. But then the people that are providing that money are getting some incentive, and you can also set up a system of giving Rico token to them. So if you donate it to our Giveth, then you can get X number of Rico tokens.
Okay.
And wait, hold on. Just to reiterate, so you're saying we set up a project on Giveth, and then donators to the project. So like, let's say FPR DAO creates a project on GiveF, and then people donate to that, and then that gets used as the initial liquidity. Is that what you're saying? Or...
Right. Yeah, that's GiveIt is just a way for ETHPR to raise stable coins or whatever token it wants to raise for its treasury. And early on, obviously, getting liquidity is a huge part of making this DAO work. So that's a good first use of tokens that you raise through a platform like that. Another thing I thought of since our last call, I talked about how Honey and XDAI are two different things that you can kind of aim for as a target pair. The key difference between having your main liquidity pair be with XDAI versus Honey is that your token is going to be correlated to the price of that token pair. So if you guys are using Honey as your main token pair, then the price of Rico is going to correlate to the price of Honey. So that's good for you guys if Honey goes up. It's bad for you guys if Honey goes down. The liquidity at first, it doesn't really affect how big of a transaction you can make if you create it with Honey versus XDAI. But that's kind of the key thing to think through with deciding on that.
Yeah, so it seems like we want to well, we can discuss this if we want to keep Rico as the governance token, or if we want to use it as a medium of exchange. If it stays as a governance token, like what price do we want it to be kind of stabilized at? Or, we don't want to have too big a fluctuation. Now, does that mean we have like deeper liquidity pools to stabilize the price? Does it mean we have a more distributed kind of like holding, like more people have more tokens instead of it being concentrated in just a few different wallets? So I think that's definitely something we want to clarify moving forward.
So speaking of the treasury, kind of one thing we need to set up first is the Gnosis safe. Do we know anything about that as far as the technical side of it? And do we have plans for implementing that?
I looked into that after our call on Monday. We can set it up on the Gnosis chain, and we can do multiple addresses. So we can configure it to have a lot of signers. I basically just kept on like adding wallet addresses. I mean, the only problem is like, let's say we do like we need 66% of addresses to sign to approve a transaction. What if some of the people either stop participating in the DAO or maybe they lose their wallet? So I think whoever is going to be a key signer on the multi-sig needs to be like super core team member. And that comes with, I think, a lot more like responsibility. So maybe we just kind of like, we have a wide funnel at the bottom for like people who, are just kind of casual contributors, observers. And then ideally we can like people who are the most committed, the most involved can become like a multi-sig signer. So we could start with a few people, if we want to do like 7 signers and we maybe just need 4 out of 7 to move significant, like to move funds. That could be a starting point.
I would suggest, I'm largely in agreement. I think I would start maybe even with a little less people and number of signers until it's more valuable, because at the moment we want to do a few things, learn and experiment. So like making sure, I don't know, at the moment it's not worth anything. So it's like not that someone is leaving with $1 million if someone would maliciously try something. And we can always add more signers, the more critical the funds get. So for example, what you could do, you do whatever, 2 out of 4. So it's not one person can do something. And then over time we can grow the governance, because people, like some people have done Gnosis safes before. Like I've done this like since many years, different ones of them. and we will just learn. I think if we want to add a few more people because they want to try, then we could set up a second one, like a test version. I think over time, what you could do as well, if we're concerned about like that, what about 2 out of 4 is critical, you can define minimums. You can say like 2 are sufficient to move whatever 100 RICO, but you need to have a higher threshold to move whatever more than 1,000 RICO. Or you can define even target addresses. For example, if some core team needs to pay on a regular basis, I don't know, 5 RICO per week, you can have like one person doing that sufficiently, and we could stop and take whoever. Let's say if someone becomes malicious, takes the 5, and we say, hey, something's going wrong, then we could stop it. So my suggestion is keep it simple in the beginning, because like 4 out of 7 might take us, I don't know, a few days to coordinate. Someone is traveling and doesn't have his ledger with him, and yada yada yada. So I think we can increase the security once it becomes more relevant. My suggestion.
Okay, I like that.
And I mean, setting it
So,
up is fairly straightforward. I haven't done it on XDAI, but otherwise, it's not a super complicated thing. We just need to have a few people who have wallets and know how to use the MetaMask. Otherwise, it's not highly technical anymore. It's pretty good.
That's good. So once we have that set up, we'll be able to kind of manage the treasury and even like NFT sales. I think we'll need something like the Gnosis safe. So definitely would be a big milestone.
Yeah, I would say if we can kind of finish doing all of the internal testing, if we want to fix up the parameters, add some liquidity, get the Gnosis safe set up, then we can get more organized with regards to bringing in the next wave of, say, up to 100 participants, and kind of formulate the, Rafa likes to call it a season. I feel like we're still in preseason right now. So we can do an onboarding push. I would like to do both. I would like to schedule some more virtual meetups, like kind of getting back into the groove of setting up using meetup.com to do some more groups, because I know we haven't really engaged with in the broader community. So I'd like to kickstart some of the, like, we could even do this as a digital meetup, and then also start to line up some speakers for some in real life events.
Yeah, I like the idea. Is that something we want to coordinate like through a DAO proposal, or is that not necessary?
I would like to see funding, if at minimum, with the RICO token, potentially like later on when we get a bigger treasury, we can pay out in XDAI. But I would like to have more people taking initiative to be setting up events and running events and organizing events, just so I'm not the only one who's doing it. But in terms of it's easy. I mean, it's a lot less work to do a digital meetup, and we could be doing one a week versus an in real life event, which requires a little bit more hands-on and organization and planning.
I mean, we talked about doing just like a casual happy hour. That's pretty easy to put together if you want to start there. Yeah,
I would love that. I know VG, you mentioned wanting to take the initiative on that, at least doing one. But if we could get like something like a set rate for hosting the events, and maybe even a budget if there is a budget to for food and beverage or for paying for the venue.
Yeah, I would suggest doing it at a hosted venue so you don't have to deal with cleanup and supplies.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could probably just the easiest way is to just find a bar to just tell people to meet there. But I'm thinking more like if we wanted to do something like maybe a year from now, 6 months to a year from now, if we wanted to organize kind of like an ETH Puerto Rico event, kind of like a ETH Lisbon, ETH Barcelona, ETH Denver, something like that. I feel like that's like what we can work up towards in terms of like organizational capacity, and then finally start doing some donation drives would be awesome, to start putting some funds in some of the local organizations' hands.
Well, at the FinTech meetups, like we're in the process of planning out the calendar for the year, or at least for the next 6 months. There's a lot of demand from our audience to do more crypto-based information. Our formats are very like presentation style, like lecture style. I've not identified yet a speaker for like the specific Ethereum ecosystem. I would be open to suggestions of who would be the best person for that, and be happy to have an ETHPR DAO, ETHPR/FinTech meetup.
Well, I know, Bali, you have your nonprofit. There's also a guy, Vincenz. Have you met Vincenz, the guy who does DexGrid?
Vicens.
What is it? What is his name?
Vicens. Vicenz.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to get that guy on it for an event. And then there's also Brendan from Secret Network, which is Cosmos based, but everything's going to be somehow, all the blockchains are going to be talking to each other soon enough. But yeah, I think we have a lot of latent potential and a pretty big like talent network. And,
Sorry,
and I like the presentation pitch style as well.
So you want the DexGrid people at an official like ETHPR meetup, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I reached out to Vincenz on Twitter today, just to invite him to the group because I don't think he's in the group. But,
yeah. Do you have an invite link?
Yeah, I'll send you the invite link.
Thank you. I'll invite him to the core group or to the regular ETH group chat.
Just to the regular group, and then if he wants to get more engaged, I think the initial ask is to see if he wants to do a presentation on DexGrid.
Okay, I think that's a yes, but let me just confirm.
And then we could, yeah, I mean, it seems like we have FinTech meetup, we have Blockchain Puerto Rico and ETHPR meetup groups, the trifecta. I don't know if we have anything else. Jose, you run blockchain. You run blockchain Puerto Rico. What is Crypto Rico? Is that something else?
Are you referring to the Crypto Rico group on Meetup or Facebook?
Or WhatsApp?
I don't know the difference, but
or WhatsApp. All right, I'll tell you now. Back in 2017, Gualberto, aka no, this is recorded. Gualberto reached out to me. We met up at My Pen Rye. He asked me to help him promote a meetup on at De La Vida in La Placita. I accepted. You know, I helped promote it on my meetup group, my Facebook page, for the first few months. He later opened up his own group, started branding it under his own, brand name. He called it Crypto Rico. Got some art for it and everything. And I think that anything that's got Crypto Rico on it with the little flag thing they got going on is a remnant of that original project, right? So on meetup.com, I just scooped it up, as soon as I saw it was available because, I was involved and it's got a pretty good following. So I was like, yeah, let me just get my hands on that. Okay.
I mean, I guess the question was more about like, do we want to do mapping? I mean, I know you already know like it in your head, like what groups are around the island, but maybe if we wanted to do a little bit better like resource mapping on and this probably goes better more into like the like how we want to do airdrop / like onboard the next 100 like contributors to the DAO. And then also, you know, Julie, if you're looking at a calendar for event dates, we can like, if we want to do co-branding for an event, or if we want to just like organize better so that we don't do events on the same day. I guess that was just my main point.
No, I was proposing doing like a co-event or having, you know, FinTech PR host ETH PR and have a discussion about, well, a lecture about blockchain and then maybe touch on some various projects. I don't know specifically the content, but you know, we tend to have, it's a very information heavy lecture style. So there's a lot of data and really diving in kind of deep, not these like high level fireside chats. Like we like really get into actionable information.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
And then we're also going to be hosting, because I want to have a couple lectures in the coming months that are like crypto and blockchain related, but then also we're doing a workshop series. So then we can host FinTech Meetup hosts ETH PR workshop where it's have like you walk through like how to set up the wallet or how to get into something, but it's hand holding. Everyone brings their computers. And people pay more money for that.
Mm-hmm. I like that idea.
Do we want to do like look for corporate sponsorships too? Like even if it's like $1,000 or 1,000 XDAI or something, like, and they can be. I mean, we don't have to nail anything down now. That could be a nice revenue stream.
Yeah, I think we could get sponsors. I honestly I think we should really like nail the freaking tokenomics and, you know, like set proposals for this type of thing. Maybe set up like a RICO governance token budget. We can pen sponsors in, or, you know, even liquidity providers, because you know, we should really leverage our DAO, you know, which is non-traditional. Right? Because we can get sponsors like in the traditional way, right? Get dropped a few $100 and all that. But I think the key aspect is you know, just a decentralized decision making aspect of all of this.
Well, I think phase 1 will be the airdrop and the user onboarding, and then phase 2 could be the NFT sale, NFT drive. So that could tie in both individuals and corporate. I know Uniswap does something interesting where they'll mint you an NFT for your unique liquidity position. But that's a little, I think, a little too fancy for us right now. Jose, I wanted to ask, do we need to set up like any legal structure just yet? Or like, what is our timeline looking like for that? Or when do we need to start thinking about that more seriously?
Well, you know, as soon as we opened the liquidity pool on Honey, I was like, well, dang, this is an open market. What do people get from the RICO token? You know, pero for now, man, you know, we're just on untraveled waters in untraveled waters. So we you know, I would say we should hold off on that for now, and eventually we can explore like someone submitting a proposal so that we get a DAO. I mean, we get a registered agent on the island, and you know, we can open up a company and all that. You know, if we really need a bank account, you know, kind of like the way the Maker Foundation handled it. But for now, I think that, you know, we can really focus on the tokenomics, on the incentives, on the events and the airdrops without necessarily having to get into that.
Okay.
I think once we're leaving playing around, I will be very cautious and might leave, because I've done so many things where it was just like, in hindsight, it cost me hours and hours with lawyers and tax accountants just to like know what the fuck I'm doing. And now I'm a part of a partnership, which is trading tokens and all of that stuff. And it's an unlimited liability thing. And I'm just burned. And so I'm just like flagging this here. I'm all for experimentation. I'm all for helping where I can. I would be very nervous just because of like tax and other open questions. So I'm just saying this for me. I think people should be more bold and should experiment and all of that stuff. And I hope people do, and we'll see. I'm maybe overly cautious at the moment on some of the stuff. It probably doesn't matter if it dies in 6 months, nobody would ever care. If this becomes a thing and people start investing in buying Rico tokens because someone is publishing somewhere and people get hurt because someone invests because it's a Rico token, they thought it's from Puerto Rico and whatever stupid reason why people might believe something, and then they go after us and say they sue us. And so every member is now part of this unlimited liability, and I prefer not to be.
Yeah, right now it's kind of like that, and I say kinda to just not be too gray on everybody, but I agree with Rovin. We don't have any type of limited liability or anything like that right now.
I was part of the original DAO. I mean, now it's recorded, but so 2016 and
is that where all your gray hairs came from?
Everybody told us like, "What the fuck are you doing?" and all of this, and people knew you, and investors got hurt, and like all of that stuff. So I was very happy that it ended up being okay for everybody, and like there was no like implications after that. But I think that was my lessons learned of like being a bit more cautious. But again, I'm not trying to make everybody nervous here about this. I think what we're doing now is because we're not promoting anything, but say once we're not dropping tokens to people, open markets, and suddenly it's a thing which people start trading, and suddenly it might be an unregistered security, and we get a fine, and like who's paying the fine, and blah blah blah.
I would also like to add on that note that if we're going to be doing airdrops and whatnot, we have to make sure we know who we are doing the airdrops to, like the know your client stuff, because this is becoming a major topic for the security issues. So I agree with Jose. I think we should wait, but I wouldn't do any onboarding prior to having a business structure, because I think it's going to be more exposed. It's going to expose everyone on the liability aspect of it. But besides that, I think we still got to consider having a business structure, because it's going to protect us as well from the liability standpoint. So it's a work in progress. I think we don't want to do anything before we have a working DAO that it's been tested. If we know it works, we know the people we want to work with, we know the events that we want to be hosting and whatnot. Once we have all those things in control, then we can be thinking about building the structure in Puerto Rico, basically.
I know that you can get some amount of a personal legal wrapper just by having your own LLC or S corp. You might want to talk with a lawyer about what that protects against. But like I'm in Opolis, the co-op where everyone's got an S corp that they're basically contracting their DAO work through that S corp. So I would imagine that gets some personal liability protected at least.
Is Opolis the kind of like the invoicing or like kind of HR management tool?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like freelance bookkeeping, basically. They set up a payroll and pay out your salary with the withholdings and
Does
taxes.
Ohio have any legal structure, or like what's their legal setup like?
For the co-op itself?
No, for the One Hive DAO?
There is an LLC that one of the original founders made. It was for a specific reason. Like he needed to sign up for something and needed to have an LLC. But I really don't think it gets used for it. Like there's no bank accounts with it that anything with the DAO is doing. I think One Hive is basically not an entity.
Yeah, I think also separating three things. So I think what Opolis mainly does, it helps you as like a participant in a DAO and as someone who gets maybe tokens in a DAO, like you're like members. I think now if this group is now the founding member of the ETH PR DAO, like we created a token, which is could be a security at some point. So I think it's different, like who are the initiators and who are the founding members and to which extent we're promoting. So now we're talking about creating events and like people who come to the events. So like we start spreading that. And so whatever could be perceived differently than if you, Paul, work for like 3 DAOs and you get like paid from that DAO. And I think that's where the Opulus direction is. And OneHive, I think, is protecting I don't know their structure, but maybe more them and maybe not that we are initiating a new token because it's just a tool and we are the ones who created the token. Anyone can do a new token on any platform. And that's why I assume it's different, but I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure.
I'm just also going to say I'm not a lawyer, but just putting myself in the shoes of like someone that's going to sue Rico DAO or like the punitive damages to the DAO. If you want to get Rico, you need to either get it from the individuals that hold it, or if there's a multi-sig like Gnosis Safe, that's a centralized place that you could demand that you get Rico. But other than that, if you want to get Rico from the common pool of Rico, your only choice is to create a funding proposal and get community support. Like it is truly decentralized in that aspect where you're not going to.
I thought there's a market where you can just buy. Isn't there like a Uniswap type thing where you just like go in and just buy some?
Yeah. Any liquidity for the token, anyone will be able to buy. But I don't think the government would want to buy Rico. They would want to demand it.
Yeah, right now, if you want to buy like $10 or whatever worth of Rico, you would get like 90% slippage.
I'm not talking about today or tomorrow. So I'm saying like, assuming we're successful, it's not about like if this all dies, nobody would ever care. But let's say assuming now we have a treasury of like $2 million in like a year from now, and suddenly a few thousand people are playing with us because whatever, it gets picked up in media and suddenly there's a thing, whatever. So suddenly we're successful, which we want, and then suddenly becomes more tricky. And that's kind of like what I'm just cautious of, not anything we're doing here. I think nobody cares. It's all fine. I think it's more like once there's an actively traded market, and then so success we all should be happy about and not getting nervous now that we have success. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll say two things. One, I think that's a really good problem to have. If we have so much interest that the token prices, the market cap, that's a really good problem to have. And I think we have, hopefully at that point, we'll have enough brain power to kind of address that issue. And also over time, I'm hoping this year there's a little bit more regulatory clarity as far as like some of these like social tokens and DAOs. This is all so new, like it's incredibly new. And regulators are starting to pay attention. So hopefully there is some clarity over the year. Yep. And hopefully we do gain some traction over this year. So perhaps in 2023, we can kind of, take what we learned and kind of adapt from there. But I don't think we should get too bogged down as far as like moving forward, and just focus on trying to make it a success and then deal with those problems as they come up.
I think the reason why I'm cautious is like, I don't want to I'm happy to put in $1,000 and let it all burn. Then I know what I will lose if worse things happen. But it's different that I might lose my personal assets because I'm playing around in a DAO which might get successful. So this is my only and personal opinion, and I'm just mentioning here because I want to work with you guys that I might just take a more passive role in owning, driving, and doing on-chain stuff, just because I don't want to be perceived.
What's the minimum legal liability wrapper we can put on this thing to give everybody kind of enough protection to feel confident in participating?
So I haven't looked into the detail, but I know that some of the DAOs, the DAO House and others, there's like a syndicate or something. It's like a one-click button, and it just creates some kind of legal wrapper. But someone needs to register. There's some very lightweight ways to at least make an LLC out of this. But this is US LLCs. I'm not sure what that means for Puerto Rico. But even if ETHPR is in Delaware LLC, whatever, I don't care. I don't care where it is, limiting our liabilities, as long as it at least wraps it around. But that's maybe worth of an exploration over the next week until our next meeting. That just there are a bunch of them, and because everything has the same problems, and we're not unique. I know that Meta Cartel, which started as an investment DAO, they went through initially nobody cared, and then they all cared, and suddenly they wrote like they had like pages and pages of legal documents. They're like just to retroactively fixing all of that. And then it is an investment DAO, so it's maybe like a different volume than what we have in mind. But and the only DAOs I'm actively involved in are Tribute Labs. So Open Law was building in a legal wrapper they have two different ones. One is the one for like a Delaware LLC, and then they have a non-profit, I don't know where it's registered, as like as an other like structure. And there it's basically an LLC pointing to all decisions this thing does to the blockchain. So there's no bank account. We have in the operating agreement, it's always pointing to the DAO makes the decisions. We don't have a board of director. It's the DAO. We don't have a bank account. It's on the smart contract. We don't have that. So it's basically using a traditional company, but just basically taking everything out which is not required and doing that. Yeah.
So just to quickly chime in, I think we'd probably be like, you know, I don't have a magic wand or anything, and I can't predict the future, but we'd probably go with an LLC and we'd probably structure it somehow, whether we have, you know, whether it be traditional and we have a board of directors, or, you know, like Rowan was saying, the operating agreement points towards the DAO governance system, and, you know, that system replaces the board of directors in some sense, or just is integrated to it. It's all very, very vague, and we'd probably structure it in a way no one else would structure it. And it could, you know, it could work, you know. It's just the fact that everything is so obscure that I guess we don't want to find ourselves in a position where we're just throwing random fists in the air. So I think you guys, Antonio isn't the first. This isn't the first time we talk about this, right? So we do have examples out there. So if anybody can like find any of these operating agreements, right? That would
I just linked to one in the WhatsApp group. There's the Song a Day DAO. Are you familiar with this?
Not really.
Song a Day man. Anyways, I put in the bylaws and the articles of incorporation for basically a cooperative LCA. Everybody can take a look at it. It's got builder members, voter members, representation, admission and membership fees, certificate of membership. So maybe if we want to be doing an LLC, a cooperative, a nonprofit, because I think we're kind of like more like a raid guild type. We're like a hybrid raid guild / like donation DAO. But it's a good legal document. I think we can just really like follow what's already like kind of ride the coattails, like already use what other people are using, and not run around in too many circles to get those. I know Jose, you like to run those legal consultation hours up, but
yeah, I just get
anyways,
stressed out about it.
30 plus pages of articles of incorporation. I mean,
no, but for real, like LLCs are huge. Like Wyoming is using them. The Wyoming LLCs get criticized because they're a little less liberal than, you know, what a traditional LLC would allow for. But I think that, you know, whatever type of legal structure we can explore is fine for now. Like but, you know, I think we're getting towards the end of the call. Like, do we have a list of action items? Because who's submitting the airdrop proposal? Like, and the tokenomics one, and etc. Right? I'd like to know if we agreed about that or anything, because I know I offered to submit the airdrop proposal, but I don't want to be stepping on anybody's toes.
Well, I think the airdrop is going to be phase 2. I think phase 1 right now is we want to get the Gnosis safe set up. We want to dial in our parameters. We want to update our multimedia assets. What else do we want to do?
Yeah, if I can take 1 minute, I created a new proposal yesterday. I'd like to bring up to everyone, get some feedback. But basically, to find an artist to produce an image to represent the RICO token, because right now we don't have anything. And what we can do is we can also upload it to IPFS and mint it as an NFT, so it can kind of be like the first NFT sale, and it can immediately kind of like engage the community, and they can also get paid. So maybe it's kind of like a first case of selling artwork as an NFT. Of course, some of this will we'll need the Gnosis safe and all that. But what do you guys think about getting started in that search process? Do we know artists like who might be interested in submitting, and like how would we go through that process of selecting an image, and I guess what would be the reward? I was thinking we can grant them RICO tokens, and then we can also grant them proceeds from the NFT sale and recurring revenues. But yeah, any feedback on that? Is a good idea? Is it something that we should pursue?
So, I remember we mentioned the NFT Puerto Rico DAO. I'm gonna quickly say that we're launching our alpha version on Aragon on the Rinkeby testnet, and that's gonna take place on Monday. So on Monday, like, we're gonna be officially able to submit proposals there. And if we wanted to involve them, there's two ways we could go about it. One, we could submit a proposal, right, and ask them to like help us out. Or two, we can just share this proposal over there and be like, hey, we're looking for artists. After it gets approved, right? So yeah, that's my 2 cents. But there's plenty of artists over there.
Cool. Yeah, that might be a really good place to start. But what do other people think? Is this something we should pursue? And okay, so perhaps we pursue all avenues. Like Jose, the NFT data sounds like a great resource to kind of reach out and see who's interested. So anyway, that's the proposal up on the DAO. I encourage everyone to take a look and maybe add some comments in the forum. Yeah, that's all for me. But I think it'd be kind of a good way to kind of get people excited and take the next step forward.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. There's a DAO on OneHive called NFBs, which is basically just like pixelated bee art for different DAOs. They're selling the NFBs. I'm not quite sure. It's like 39 XDAI to mint one NFB. But I did mention that it would be cool for GiveETH and NFBs to make a hybrid DAO so that you could buy the NFB in exchange for locally produced honey. So there was a lot of enthusiasm around that idea. So I'm wondering, like one of the goals for ETHPR is to support like local agriculture, but they might be interested. I'll reach out to them as well to see if there's anybody interested in doing like some artwork. But I think I'll leave my comments in the OneHive forum post, but I think 1,000 RICO might be a little bit much, considering we only have like 1,800 RICO in the common pool to distribute.
It's a fair point.
But yeah, no, I like that we're getting into the habit of making proposals. So just if everybody can like sign the covenant, can make sure that they have like, their wallet set up. And then I think from there, like maybe by next week, we'll have this figured out in terms of like the soft stuff, so that February we can focus on kind of more of a outward push.
Yeah, and Antonio, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes here, but do you think we could meet to discuss those parameters before next week? Because next week, frankly, like it's a lot more complicated for me, and I just try to support the digital artwork proposal, and yeah, I put in 50 tokens, and it seems like it didn't help out too much. So, yeah. I don't know. It seems like a rather urgent problem now that I see how it affects proposals, right?
Yeah, I think the like we mentioned before, maybe Paul can mention more, but the higher amount of funding you're requesting, the more voting you'll need to get. But I mean, I'm always happy to, we can schedule a call. Next week I'm going to be a little busy. I'm going to be doing like a 5-day yoga retreat from like 9 to 5 every day. But we can go through the TEC Commons, the Tech Commons, tech, I don't know what it's called. Token Engineering Commons through the configuration dashboard. So I would recommend everybody play around with that. Maybe spend like 10 or 20 minutes. And it's kind of hard to tell what success looks like. So maybe Paul, you might have some more insight on what does a good token engineering parameter for conviction voting look like?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be good to have a call dedicated to the token engineering because it's just trade-offs. It's like you can make smaller proposals easier. You can make bigger proposals easier. You can make them pass quicker or slower. So yeah, I think sitting down with that configurator tool for a bit and kind of mapping out how the parameters being updated will affect certain types of proposals.
I think we have two, because like, for example, OneHive, if there's like protocol level, like voting, you know, that's very rare and it requires a lot of support versus somebody who's like, hey, I want to like host a meetup and I just need a little bit of funding. Like that shouldn't be like a big, you know, decision. So I think there's like, we're different because we have a high proposal velocity versus like, we don't need to make big changes often, but we do need to do little activities often. So that might even be like a Quest DAO or like a sub DAO, or I don't know.
Yeah, so the decision voting is a separate set of parameters. That's what you're talking about. We're making EVM level decisions for the DAO using the EVM executor. If you guys use the default ones for that OneHive uses, then I believe it's 10% of all active tokens need to vote on it, and over 50% of those need to support it. So it is a yes/no vote. But yeah, that's the TEC configurator. I don't think does anything for that. So if ETHPR wants to update those parameters, then that's kind of a separate discussion.
Okay. And Alex, are you okay to do a pull request to see if we can update the EVM? What is it called?
Sure. Yeah, I think we spent some time to really make a decision on those parameters, and then yeah, I'm happy to do whatever's needed to make it happen. But I really think we should take some time to really get a full understanding, or as full as we can.
Yeah, we should really look into those token engineering commons documentation before we meet up, right? Just so that we're all clear and can communicate better.
Yeah, I left the config. Paul and we've left the link in the core chat group. So everybody take a look at that if you want to play around. I'm wondering if there's a person who we want to get on like a future call to discuss maybe more in depth. Paul, if you have anybody you'd recommend, maybe from OneHive that could do a little bit more of a kind of like a training session.
For conviction voting parameters, the Token Engineering Commons is the people to talk to. They're like the conviction voting OGs, and they spend a lot of time thinking about this. Griff especially.
Griff Green or Will Griff?
Griff Green.
Okay. All right. TE Commons Discord it is. All right. I'll jump in there, see if anybody wants to join. Okay, awesome. Does it anybody have any other items to discuss?
Only thing I want to say, everyone try to get onboarded, and if you have any questions, post them in a WhatsApp. I'm willing to help out, get you connected to the network, whatever is needed. But hopefully it's relatively smooth process.
Yeah, Braulio, I'm down to like get on a call with you if you want. Like the X-Tech thing, it's you just need to add a new network and switch to it every time you get on it. It's not a big deal, but you do need to know about it before you try, or else you'll be confused as heck.
Okay. I think we'll figure it out. If I need any help, I'll give a shout out on the WhatsApp chat. But I think I'm pretty sure I could figure it out. I think I've done this with other networks before.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I think I added Binance, and before Binance was like default on MetaMask, I think, and I think Phantom. I think I added too. I think I've done it before, so
yeah, you could teach us a class on that.
Okay. I did have, this is off topic, and I know it's almost the end of the call. I have to go. I got to visit a friend at a farm here in Las Marias, but Antonio mentioned NFBs. How about NFEs of eggs? Because there's a shortage of eggs.
I got one for you.
And I have even a further idea. So when we moved to our farm, there were these abandoned fowl, which I call the misfits. It was 2 turkeys, 2 guinea hens, and a naked neck chicken. So they're like the misfit fowl of my farm. And now I added an urban chicken from Maya West. Her name is Vesta. So I've been like, how do I do this into an NFT thing? It would be called the Misfit Fowls. There's a zombie component that's further down the road with the iguanas, because there's iguanas in mine, and the iguanas would be the zombies that Misfits Fowls fight. So that's all in my farm, kind of, working through soil and chicken shit. It's an
well, I'll tell you what, because there was a duck farm that they needed to raise some money. They just launched an NFT collection on OpenSea, and they were able to raise $100,000 by selling their duck NFTs.
There you go.
I just left you the link in the chat group. But my only problem with those is that it's just digital. I would love to buy an NFT that I can then redeem for actual.
Right. And that I love that idea about the NFB, and then you could redeem it for honey. That would be the same thing with, I could give misfit eggs, because guinea hens and turkeys and chickens give eggs. So there is a real physical connection between the NFTs, the misfits, which I think is a great name, Misfit Fowl. Like foul because they smell, and foul because they're funny.
What we do need is, because it's a regular supply and people are eating regularly, we need to do some type of subscription service where people need to get a dozen eggs a week or whatever it is. That's ideally where we move to, because you want to stabilize your client base, and you want to make sure that your production sells out. So having
my experience of fresh eggs from Puerto Rico, and I had a very small production, but my experience is that once people know that you have fresh eggs, they don't just order 1 dozen, they order 2 and 3. And that I never had a client, and my client base was like maybe 10, 12 people. I had 20 chickens, a little bit more here and there because some of them died. I produced not that many dozens of eggs, but people love fresh eggs from Puerto Rico, and I'm pretty sure. Dude, eggs are. I didn't know this about eggs. People love eggs. I was surprised how much, and I know this is off topic, way off topic, but
no, it's all connected.
People do support eggs. That's my experience. People love eggs. Everybody eats eggs. Eggs are in baking. Eggs are in sandwiches, in dinner, in lunch, in breakfast. I think they're more important than milk. People could not drink milk. People are always eating eggs.
Definitely. Well, I'll be a subscriber.
I'll drop it there.
Okay. Well, I just want to mention that this has been recorded. I will upload it to YouTube. So if we want to review, check on anything, we have that. And I'll be sharing this in the bigger ETH Puerto Rico chat group as well. So thanks, everybody. We have one scheduled for next Wednesday, same time, 2 p.m. And we can chat more if we want to do a more like detailed parameter chat. I think if we just play around with some of the settings. So,
Yeah.
Thank you again, Paul, for joining in. Have a safe travel today.
Yeah, Paul. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks. Very interesting to see this form. This is really fun to watch. Yeah, a lot of this stuff isn't really figured out yet. So that part of the experiment is, I think, a little bit of trial and error. So yeah, I'm
Community
really
of
interested
practice.
to keep.
We're DAOing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thanks.
Que tengan buen día.